Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is from my Career Woman Secret Playbook podcast. But unlike other podcast episodes, I want to jump on here real quick and let you know that today's episode is special. I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look on what the footage actually looks like. I won't bore you with every single outtake, but it's been a while since I've done a behind the scenes at the podcast. It's been a while since I've done a blooper reel, so why not? Instead of just uploading the exact edited version, I thought you might enjoy seeing a little bit more of the behind the scenes before I actually go through and edit everything. All right, you guys, let's get into today's recording of today's episode 53, all about how to teach people how to treat you. Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Career Woman Secret Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn, and as usual, I'm so excited you're here because today we're going to tackle another topic that career women really need to be thinking about. Today, we're talking about teaching folks how to treat you. Okay, we'll start that part over. You teach people how to treat you. Okay. All right, here we go. Episode 53. Happy Monday, everyone. It's been a while since I've wished you a happy Monday. Since we try to release our podcast episodes on Monday, let's go ahead and say that. Why am I even talking about that right now? Okay, here we go. Take 3, people. All right, listeners, welcome back. Here we go. Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome back to another empowering episode of the Career Woman Secret Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn, and today's episode is all about how to teach people how to treat you. I have found in being in management for many years that when I've supervised men and women both, I have noticed that the women struggle with this a little bit more than our male counterparts. So come back and join me for episode 53. Let's take a deeper dive on why this is the case, how this affects you in the workplace and at home. You won't want to miss the episode. But it's also okay. That's my husband. That's okay, honey. What is it? I'm going to keep it in the blooper reel. Oh, okay, sweetheart. I'm almost done. Do you think he's going to have an accident? Okay, I give me 5 minutes and if I'm not done, I'll go ahead and just have 2 versions of this. Yeah, I thought I told you before that when I came up there that I was going to film my podcast. Okay. Okay. All right, give me 5 minutes to have a good place to stop it and then I can come back to it. Okay, honey. Ladies, you have got to surround yourself with the people who lift you up. So today I want to show you how to set those healthy boundaries in your professional life and your personal one, because it will make a difference. So let's go over these tips and be sure to tell me what strategies you put in place right away, what worked for you. And if you have suggestions for other strategies, please let me know because I want to make sure that I can include that on a future episode. All right. Now, since I have to take the dogs out, you guys, we can't have MJ struggling. No. We have brand new carpet upstairs. We have these beautiful hardwood floors that we just got re-stained because our first floor got flooded. Where I'm sitting right now, by the way, got flooded when we were out of town from the second floor bathroom. That's a whole other episode. So I'm going to stop the episode here, go take the doggies out, and come back and film the other part of the episode for you. So see you in a minute. Okay, I'm back from the dog walk. In fact, I'm going to insert a quick little video here to show you evidence of that. So here I am walking the dogs. So we'll get back to the episode in just a bit. All right, listeners, welcome back. I'm so excited you're here, you guys, and that you found us. Now, if you are new, I want to make sure you get plugged in. Head over to our website at drdawnshoptalk.com. I've got lots of free resources I think could really help you on this career journey that we're all on. And whether you're working full-time, whether you're part-time, whether you're retired, okay? Or maybe the CEO of your own household, you're just staying at home. If you're a busy woman at any stage of your life right now, I really think you're going to get a lot of value from these topics. Now, of course, I love hearing from you, so let me know if there's other topics you want me to cover, but those free resources on my website can also really help. So be sure to check that out. All right, you guys, let's talk about today's topic. What is this idea of you teaching people how to treat you? It's something that you probably have heard of before. It's very popular, this idea, both in the personal and professional development world. So let's talk about what I mean by that and why it matters both in the workplace and at home. So the idea that you teach people how to treat you, it's been around for a long time. It's a concept that's been proven time and time again, not only in the research, but it's something I have definitely seen play out both in my professional life and in my personal one. The concept is that people see how you carry yourself, they see what you tolerate and what you don't. And as a result of that, they choose how they treat you. So, in other words, you're actually teaching folks by setting healthy boundaries or not setting them what you will accept in your life, whether it's in your professional life or personal one. And you guys, this concept really works. Let me give you an example of each. In the workplace, I have seen firsthand that bosses have treated me differently than they have some of my colleagues. I saw that when I started off as a school teacher, both at the administration level and how students treated me as a teacher versus some of my colleagues. So, in other words, students find out real quick. And I think students many times are even better at this than adults are. In other words, they're going to either treat you with respect or they're going to eat your lunch. Okay. Especially if you worked in public education, as I did, and if you worked with high schoolers. High schoolers, they don't mess around. That is no different than being an employee. As an employee, and as I rose through the ranks and then moved over into the business side of education, then later on into the business world, when I supervised employees, if I expected for them to rise to that level of expectation, I kind of needed to, really supervise and lead by example. So it's no different than if it's in the classroom or in the boardroom. You really do teach people how to treat you. This is important in your work life because if you don't do this, you are going to exhaust yourself. You're going to spread yourself so thin because you're taking on usually your job and everybody else's. The boss is not going to respect you in the same way. And you're going to see that there really is preferential treatment, not because the boss is always to blame. Now, sometimes the boss is, but sometimes it really is because you allow it to happen. Okay. When I mention I noticed that bosses treated me differently, I'm 5'1 3/4" on a good day, people. I'm not that intimidating. However, because I carry myself with a lot of confidence and self respect, bosses and students and employees, it didn't matter who, they would not try certain things with me. It's not because I'm any more special than anybody else, but I did have a level of respect for myself and a level of confidence where that line wasn't crossed often. And when it was, I had no problem respectfully holding people accountable. All right, you guys. So now we definitely know what the concept is all about. We know its importance. So, yes, it's important to know the why. But I think it's just as important, if not more so, to make sure you know the how. In other words, now that we know all this wonderful information, how are we going to put this in place? How are we going to make sure that we are, in fact, teaching people how to treat us well? So, let me give you 5 of my favorite tips to make sure you're doing just that. All right, let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1, I'm calling communicate clearly and directly. They always say communication has sort of 3 points of view. Your version, my version, and then that third part in the middle lies the truth. That's really true. Sorry if you hear my dogs in the background. Oh, come on, guys. I already took you out. Roxy, stop barking. Okay. Maybe I'm hoping only I can hear her barking. You probably can too. Sorry about that. But in other words, when you communicate with someone, they're going to hear things in a certain way. You think you're expressing it in a certain way, but we really can't determine 100% how that other person's going to take it because each of us, kind of receives and perceives the world through their own lens, right? There's a lot of information about how we perceive things, our perspective, and our lens is really how we view the world. And so when it comes to teaching people how to treat you, it's so important that you explain what your boundaries are. I remember listening to a book on tape by Lisa Gibbons. I just love her. And I think it's in her book called Take Two, where she talks about how, as women especially, we have to set those healthy boundaries. And back in the day when she had her talk show, she had just given birth to her youngest child. And she was setting those healthy boundaries at work. She wanted to nurse her, I believe it was her son, and she wanted to make sure that the studio understood that that's what she needed. That was a non-negotiable for her. So instead of trying to hem and haw and try to be a people pleaser and be like, "Oh gosh, this is really important to me. I really hope you can meet my schedule and what that schedule is going to need to be because I really need to be able to do this, blah, blah, blah." No, no, no. She used much more powerful language than that. And she basically said in a nutshell that if you would like for me to continue to host the show, these are the hours that I'm going to need in order to meet that. Something along those lines, where basically she was saying, if you want me to continue, here's what I'm going to need in return. So it was a non negotiable. She had to have certain hours to meet her nursing schedule. And she also made sure that the studio provided sort of like another office where she could have her son and a crib and all these things because she planned on bringing her son to work. And because she was in the position she was in, she could make those demands. But with that being said, you don't have to be on a television show and be the on-air talent who has a lot of experience and can make those demands. It was easier for her because she was at that point in her career, yes. But no matter what point of your career you are at, whether you're at the beginning stages or you've been working at your career for years, it doesn't matter that you're not high up in the ranking, so to speak. You can make those demands. You can set those boundaries at work and at home. You just may have to get more creative to do that, right? Because again, you still teach people how to treat you. And respect has nothing to do with a paycheck or the position you're in. You could be at the entry level of your company and still demand a lot of respect. I have seen senior leadership demand very little respect actually from employees because of the way that they manage. So your position really has very little to do with leadership and how you're treated. So again, communicate your expectations. Always do so with professionalism and make sure you do the same in your personal life. I remember I have two sisters. I just am so fortunate to be the oldest, right? And I love being the oldest because sometimes they will come to you for help. You have more experience in life. And, so sometimes they'll come to you and ask you to help them out. And one of my sisters was just notorious about always expecting me to be the one to handle a difficult conversation. It could be as simple as, the food was cold and let's send it back. And it was always like, Dawn, you do it. You're just able to get it done better, or you know how to do it. Like they would always put me in charge of those kinds of conversations. Well, it's not that I naturally was born with the ability. Maybe there's some genetics involved because, same family, three sisters, all of us have a lot in common, but we're also very different. Part of it is, yeah, maybe natural wiring, but another part is that I always surrounded myself with the kinds of things that made me feel good and confident, whether it was happy music like ABBA. I'm sorry, you can't have a bad day if you're listening to Dancing Queen. Okay, you just can't. Okay. And, same thing with movies and TV shows. And then I read a lot of self help books about how to be confident. I mean, my first self help book I bought when I was 12 years old, How to Be Your Own Best Friend. Love that book. Oh my gosh, it's like the foundation of everything. So again, you need to communicate clearly and directly because your expectations will make all the difference. Tip number two on how to make this happen. Set those healthy boundaries and stick to them. So healthy boundaries only work, again, if you stick with it. I don't believe in lowering the standard. I really don't. But you have to kind of build that staircase and show people how to take those steps to get there. You can't just not give them the tools and strategies they need to achieve the goals that you're setting for them. So the same is true for yourself. Now, if you need a deeper dive on healthy boundaries, you guys, I have some great videos. In fact, all throughout the podcast and YouTube channel. Don't forget to double check the show notes on the podcast and the description box on YouTube, because I'll put all the links to other videos that I think can really help you, on this journey of self-empowerment. So in any case, hey, sweet boy. Okay, MJ's right here. You saw that cute little video and picture of MJ. Yes, I love you so much. Okay. Thank you. Oh, yes, Roxy, I love you too. Yes, I know. Oh, gosh, don't you love our furry children? They're so awesome. Okay, so again, it's only going to work if you stick with it. And listen, if it's been a while since you've really set healthy boundaries, or if you've never been really good about doing that, give yourself some grace, just like with any habit. If it's been part of your, personality traits, your kind of characteristics, kind of like the way that you run things type of stuff. It's a terrible way to describe it. But anyway, if that habit's been with you for a little while, give yourself the grace and the patience and the understanding to know it may take a minute. Now, sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't always have to be so much work. You literally can make a decision to change it immediately. The word decision comes from, I'm blocking the name of the Latin root, but the word is from a Latin root that means like to decide. Where am I going with this? Like when you actually make a decision, by definition, making a decision usually means that you do it right away. I don't know why we get stuck in this idea that everything takes time. Yes, do I want you to give yourself a little bit of a break? Like I said a minute ago, if it takes a little bit of time, that's understandable, but it doesn't always have to. There have been times in my personal and professional life where all of a sudden I've gotten this inspiration, this idea, and I never looked back again. That can happen to you too. So have faith in yourself. Remember, betting on yourself is never wrong. And you make the decision that you're going to stick with it. Now, tip number 3 leads us right into that. Scratch that. Tips number 1 and 2 are going to lead you straight into number 3, which is to role model what you see. Scratch it. Tips number 1 and 2 are going to lead us right into tip number 3. You're going to, I keep flipping it around. Okay, number 3, model the behavior you want to see. Model the behavior you want to see. Okay. All right, tips number 1 and 2 are going to lead us straight into tip number 3. Tip number 3 is for you to model what you want to see. Okay. Yay, I got it. It kind of goes back to the golden rule, right? Treat others as you would like to be treated. So in other words, you're going to need to role model that sense of self, self-respect. You're going to need to role model that and confidence. Because again, if people perceive you as not really meaning what you say, it's human nature to kind of take advantage of that. Now, it doesn't mean that, people are just inherently bad. At least not in my worldview. I think most people are good, but I do believe it's human nature to sometimes take the easy way out. And if you're somebody who never, ever says no, and I know that you're always going to say yes to me, anything that I need, it's like, why wouldn't I go to you? Because I'm getting the results that I need. And again, Maybe that sounds selfish in some cases, it may be. But if you're always going to get a yes from somebody and they're always doing it for you and helping you out, you're going to go back to that person. Now, does this mean you should always say no to everything? Don't worry about that. I'm going to get to that in the next tip. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that you need to role model that sense of respect, that self respect, and you need to role model the standard that you expect in return. So use powerful language. I'm going to do a future episode and video about how to use more powerful language in your everyday life because there are some really interesting gender differences about that. And the way you phrase things can really be interpreted in a way that lessens your power. And I want you to feel like the amazing, powerful, professional career woman that I know that you are, because only amazing professional women are listening to this podcast. There's no way you're going to be listening all the way through unless you're, a busy woman that treats herself well and thinks highly of herself, or else she wouldn't be reaching out to topics like this. She wouldn't be interested in listening to topics like this if she didn't believe this was possible, right? So I already know if you're listening to this or watching us on YouTube, especially if you've gotten this far, that you really believe in your own self-empowerment and you believe that topics like this and learning more about it can make a difference. So that's why I love putting this content out there for you. So again, guys, I hope that you do put these action steps in place. Again, comment below, let me know what you do and what the result is. All right, let's move on to tip number 4. Tip number 4 is called Don't Be Afraid to Say No. I definitely have other videos about this in the Healthy Boundaries playlist. I have some other playlists too where I covered this idea, so I'll be sure to include those. But no is a complete sentence, people. I mean, grammatically, it really is. And women do struggle in greater numbers on saying no. You don't have to be rude about it, but you need to understand that your priorities matter. And if what you're being asked to do really does not align with either your job description or your personal mission in life, you have to say no. Because saying no to things that don't meet that standard is really saying yes to things that are important to you, or saying yes to things that could really help you in your career. I want you to work smarter, not harder. You've heard me say that before. It's a very popular concept in the personal and professional development world for a reason. It works. You have to work smarter. And one of the ways that you're going to work smarter is you're not going to put in more hours at the office. You're going to really think strategically and think about what activities help your company and your organization's mission and profit line the most. Men in greater numbers tend to concentrate on those tasks. They're not nurses. I couldn't speak on that one. They're not necessarily putting in more hours. Now, sometimes they are, but it's not always more hours. It's that they are very conscious of what activities are going to affect the profit line the most. And they tend to, also in greater numbers, just speaking in generalities here, they also tend to be visible. They're willing to take on tasks even if they're not 100% qualified for them because they have a general belief that they'll figure it out. Women hold themselves back in greater numbers. They feel, and there's lots of statistics to back this up, if they don't have 8, 9, or all 10 of the requirements, just picking 10 as a general number here, if they don't meet all of those requirements, they just won't throw their hat in the ring for that next career opportunity or project. And men are much better about taking a risk. So ladies, we need to learn that lesson from the men. And part of the reason they can do that is that they say no. They say no to taking on somebody else's work. We tend to be, even in this modern age, such caregivers that we want to help out our team. Do I want you to be a team player? Absolutely. But be reasonable about what that person should do and what you should do. Because again, if you're willing to take on all the work, people will let you. So again, we want to treat people as we want to be treated. And we also want to teach people, again, how to treat us. So treat us as a team player, but understand I'm not your mom. I'm not going to do everything for you, in other words. And I am just as valuable as you. My time is just as valuable as your time. So saying no is a complete sentence, remember, and you need to value your time much more so than you may be today. Scratch that. Now, let me rephrase that. And you need to value your time as the true investment it is. We never get those minutes back. We never get those hours back. And the minutes and hours you're spending on the job, you could be spending with your family and friends. And when you are with your family and friends, set those same healthy boundaries there too. Like I mentioned about friendships that might be toxic. Same with our children, same with our partners and our husbands. We need to make sure we're not doing everybody else's job at home. We need help. We're a team, we're a family, right? Same with friends. You need to make sure that you're not always the one who is doing, how would I say that with friends? For example, you need to make sure you're not always the one putting together the dinner party or asking a friend to get together. They need to be asking you as well. You need to feel like you're just as valued. And the same is true at home. If you're like me and you have a tendency to spoil the people in your life, then make sure you're not doing it to, say, your children's detriment. There were times when I know I did things for my daughter that she probably could have done for herself. I know in some cases I was overcompensating because we were a divorced family. And even though we were wonderful about co-parenting in many ways, there were other ways when I knew I should have set a firmer boundary, not just with her, but also with my ex-husband. And you live and learn. And looking back now, I could see where I could have set some healthier boundaries for all of us. Now, we all made it through. She's 25 and she's thriving. And my ex husband has survived. Again, people, I'm not suicidal, I'm homicidal. And I'm here to tell you, he's still around. I didn't, even when he deserved it. So again, we got through it, but we couldn't have gotten through that if I didn't have at least a pretty strong foundation of setting those healthy boundaries personally and professionally. All right, guys, last but not least, tip number 5. This is, in fact, exactly what I was just talking about, and that is hold others accountable. You are not going to be able to treat, you can't treat people. No. Okay, here we go. Take 2. You're not going to be able to truly teach people how to treat you if, again, you say one thing and do another. If you're saying that these healthy boundaries are important to you, but you don't hold people in your life accountable, then they're going to walk all over you. People are not inherently evil and trying to just take advantage of you 24/7. Now, if they are, we need to talk. You do know I offer one-on-one coaching, right? I'll help you through that, okay? But most of the time, people are just taking advantage if you let them. Again, going back to that concept, they're treating you as you will allow them to treat you. Remember my examples of teaching high school. Do you think for 1 minute a high school student, and I taught in the state's largest, second to largest metropolitan school district. These kids are tough, okay? I loved them, but they could be tough and challenging, all right? The students never even attempted to do some of the things that I heard of in other classrooms. Again, guys, I'm 5'1" and 3/4 on a good day. So why would a football player, I'm talking like big football player, 6'2", 6'3", and beyond. I had a colleague whose discipline in the classroom was so horrible that a football player literally picked up a desk and threw it at her. I am not kidding. I'm not saying that that teacher wasn't wonderful in many ways, but there were definitely some things that could have been done at the onset to prevent that from happening, because I had that same student. So why would it be okay in this classroom and not mine? Just preface this. I guess I can't preface it. I've already said it. let me add this to that part of the conversation. Are there times where people will, do something horrible to you and you have set all these healthy boundaries and they all of a sudden really cross the line? Absolutely. I'm not saying something like that couldn't have happened to me in the classroom. I just know that by and large, students are no different than anybody else. They will rise to your level of expectation. And if you expect the worst and don't show them the path on how to overcome some obstacles, then again, they're going to take advantage. And if you have no discipline in the classroom, then arguments do happen because they're allowed to happen. Employees are no different. In fact, in some cases, employees are even more unruly, let's say in a meeting, again, if you allow them to. Okay. There were times when my staff, I thought, was worse than a teenager. And I would have to set those healthy boundaries again at the onset because your girl doesn't play. That's not the way I'm going to run things. Okay. So again, you have to hold others accountable professionally and personally. So, for example, are your children old enough to fold socks? They probably are. Toddlers can do that. So if you're not holding your children, your husband, your partner, the people in your life accountable to helping you and to treat you with respect, it gets to the point where it really is on you. The problem could be you. If there's so many instances in your life where people are running all over you, you've got to look within. The exciting thing about that is you really are in the driver's seat. And again, if you struggle with this, just reach out to me. You guys, do you know I offer a free 15-minute bonus coaching call? It's my consultation call. And whether you ever hire us or not, just being able to talk to you about this for a couple of minutes, maybe that's all you need, and that can make a difference. Don't forget, I got lots of free downloadables that can also help you take charge of your life right now, even when you feel powerless. That's when you need it the most. All right, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed episode 53 of the Career Woman Secret Playbook podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share this content with anybody you think might be able to use it. Definitely give us a 5-star review. You guys, that would be so important to us because the better our reviews, of course, the more this podcast is going to get recommended. So I would really appreciate that if you would. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. You guys, we're trying to double the number of subscribers we have now, and you could be an important part of that journey. So I would just love that so, so much if you would. That's it, you guys. Now, as we wrap up the episode, I have this motto. If you've heard our podcast before, I always wrap up by saying this because I want you to remember there's so much you can control. Okay, so let's wrap up with our motto, and here it is. If you're not having a fantastic day, you've got the power to make it one. All right, ladies, you have a wonderful Monday. Have a terrific week ahead. Don't forget. Should I say anything else about that? No, I think I already said all that. Have a terrific week ahead, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time right here on the pod. See you then. All right, I think that's good. Well, again, let me know if you like this behind the scenes version of the podcast. If you hate it, let me know that too. Just be kind and respectful. Listen, sometimes on YouTube, I've had to disable the comments or screen them. People can get I don't know. I don't get it. You're not paying for this. If you don't like the content, don't listen. Don't tell me that there's no content within the first 4 minutes. Are you crazy? I give you free content right away. So again, I don't understand it. If somebody is so upset with their life that they have to take the time to make a comment about somebody who's just trying to help you, it makes me feel really bad for them. It does, you guys. Okay, I'm done ranting. It's like a little mini rant, wasn't too bad. But anyway, I want this to be a wonderful platform of positivity and support for other women. And although, of course, obviously, this is for women specifically. If I didn't mention this, my company does training and workshops, seminars, and coaching for men and women both. It's just I have a special place in my heart for women, obviously, as a career woman myself. So the podcast is specifically for women, and it's based on my book that was also written for women. But my second book, more about that soon, will be for men and women both, whether you're working or not working. And so I'll be excited to share more about that later on with you guys. So again, I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes version of the podcast. I hope you do have a great week, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, everybody.